So hello everyone and welcome to day 2, lesson 2 of our $1 writing challenge. I hope that you enjoyed lesson 1. If you haven't watched lesson 1, make sure you go back and do the task. It's really important that you watch each of these and do the tasks in sequence. As yesterday we looked at the thinking stage, the planning stage, and today we're going to focus on the writing stage, and then tomorrow looking at mostly grammar and vocabulary and looking at the checking stage to make sure that we write the absolute best essay that we can and get the scores that we need. So before we get into the detail, I want to look at two things. Number one is to remember that we are only looking at discussion type questions in this challenge. So all of the things that I discussed yesterday and the things that I'm going to discuss today, nearly all of them only relate to discussion questions. Now, if I tried to do everything, then I wouldn't be able to cover everything in enough detail, and I don't believe in giving someone 10% of what they need or 20% of what they need. So we're going to go completely deep on discussion questions and show you everything you need to know about these, but just bear in mind that there's a lot of other things to remember and a lot of other things to consider when we're looking at the other types of question. A lot of you have also been asking about our VIP course and asking many questions via email and sending us requests to join that. What I'd like to say is, let's focus on the challenge first. I'm very happy that the vast majority of you will only give me $1. I'm very happy for you to do that. However, I'd be lying if I said that there will not be places available, but there will only be a small number of places available on our VIP course. There are thousands of you, and we give a huge amount of personal support and feedback and everything that comes with being a VIP, so we can only work with a very small number of you. So I'm very happy for you guys just to focus on the challenge first, and then the doors for the VIP course are going to open on Thursday at 1 p.m. and I'll be giving you all the information you need then. So let's just focus on helping as many of you as we can for just $1 this week, and then on Thursday I'll give you all the information you need. Sounds good? Okay, let's get straight into the detail. So today we're going to be focusing on developing main ideas. So one of the most important things you have to learn how to do if you want one of the higher bands. So if you need a band 7, a band 8, or a band 9 in writing, you're going to have to learn how to develop main body paragraphs properly and develop your main points properly. It's extremely simple, but like most things, students tend to overcomplicate this crucial stage. And it also doesn't help that there are many different teachers and many different websites telling you many different ways of doing this, but actually it's not that complicated. It's actually really simple, and we're going to show you a very simple way in this video. And there are 3 simple steps. Now, there are not 3 simple steps to everything. I just was looking back at the slides and I noticed that there were a lot of just do these 3 simple things. IELTS is not just 3 simple things, but for many of the things we've talked about, coincidentally, there are 3 simple steps. So let's have a look at the 3 simple steps for developing main ideas. The first thing you need to do is you need to write a topic sentence. So this clearly states what the paragraph is about, and this will be your main reason from your introduction. So the way that we structure our introduction is we're going to introduce our main points in the introduction. We're not going to go into detail, and then we're going to take those main points and we're going to go into detail and develop those main points in our main body paragraph, which makes it really easy to read and understand and very easy to write and plan out as well. And we're going to look at how you can take your introduction and develop it into a main body paragraph. Then you need to take that topic sentence, that main idea, and you need to explain that. Clearly explain your main idea, and this is much easier than you think. A lot of students are very confused about how to do this. We're going to show you a very easy way to think about this. And then finally, you're going to support your main idea with a relevant specific example. And again, there's many misunderstandings about what to do, what to include, the types of examples that you can use. We're going to look at all of this in much more detail. So all of these things will be very clear to you, and you'll be able to write a main body paragraph by the end of this lesson. So let's have a look at the question that we're going to use for this today. Some people believe that it is good to share as much information as possible in scientific research, business, and the academic world. Others believe that some information is too important or too valuable to be shared freely. Discuss both views and give your opinion. So here is my introduction. So let's have a look at what I've done here with my introduction. We talked about this structure that we were going to use for the introduction, and don't worry if you're like, oh, you haven't showed me how to write introductions. We're going to look at that a little bit later in the course, but let's just look at what I've done with the introduction here. So let's look at the first sentence. It is often said that the sharing of data is beneficial and should be encouraged in the areas of science, commerce, and academia. However, others disagree because this knowledge is too vital or precious to be widely shared. So what I've done here in this first paragraph is simply paraphrase the question. So we're not writing a background statement or some silly thing like that, or a rhetorical question or a quote or a proverb or anything like that. We're just paraphrasing the sentence. Then let's have a look at the first clause in this second sentence. Although the free distribution of information can enhance research, okay, so that's our first clause, so that's our first main point. This essay believes that free dissemination of information can lead to threats to national security. The second clause is our second main point. So let's have a look at that in a little bit more detail. Let's break it down. So we've got the paraphrase in the question here, but let's have a look here. Although the free distribution of information can enhance research, this is our first main point. This is going to be our first main body paragraph. Freely sharing information helps research, all right? And we're talking generally about research, scientific research, commercial research, and research in academia. We've grouped all three of these together. A common problem that many students have is that if they see multiple things within a question, they try and address each of these separately. So they try and either put all three of them in one paragraph or one paragraph for each of them. You just don't have time to do that, and you're not required to do that. So by talking about research, we're covering all three of these. This essay believes that free dissemination of information can lead to threats to national security. So this is our second main point, and this is going to be our second main body paragraph. So you can see what the introduction provides is it helps the reader, because what you're doing is you're saying to the reader, this is what my essay is going to be about. This is what an introduction is. An introduction introduces the topic and then tells the reader, gives them a preview of what they are going to see, helping the reader. That is what an introduction is. So that helps the reader, but it also helps you. This is like a mini plan. You know exactly what you're going to write about, so you're not going to go off on a tangent or get confused. You're not going to write about something completely different. You know exactly what you are going to write. So one of my big theories about writing is teach students things that are easy to do and that help the reader. If you help the reader, you're helping the examiner understand and making everything clear, you're going to improve your mark. If you're making it easy for yourself, you're going to improve your mark, and obviously it's easier to do. So remember, there are three things that we must do in a discussion essay. Discuss view 1, discuss view 2, and give my opinion. So discuss view 1, this is going to be our first main body paragraph. Discuss view 2, this is going to be our second main body paragraph. And we're also going to give our opinion within each of these main body paragraphs, as we discussed yesterday. And I'll show you what this will look like. I'll show you a student example. So topic sentences, this is the first element of our main body paragraphs. How do we write a topic sentence? So first of all, these should be just short, simple sentences. These do not need to be fancy. These do not need to be long, complex, multi-clause sentences. Just short and simple. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for, like, if you are familiar with boxing, a jab. All right? So just a little jab to begin with, just a little short punch to get the reader's attention. And they clearly state what the paragraph is about. The only reason why we have a topic sentence is to help the reader. Why do we write something? We write something to communicate with the reader. Why do we use topic sentences? To help us communicate with the reader. And they contain no detail, so don't worry about explanations or examples or anything like that. Finish your topic sentence, full stop, and then you can get into the detail. And they must match the main idea in your introduction. You need to write a coherent and cohesive essay. So cohesion, many people think that cohesion just means discourse markers and linking words and things like that. But a cohesive essay is an essay that their ideas link together. So your ideas in your introduction link together, are the same as your main body paragraph, and then is the same in your conclusion. So you have a nice cohesive piece of writing. Again, many of you will disagree with me on that because your teacher or you read that you cannot repeat ideas. That is simply wrong, and I'm not going to get into a debate or an argument with you on that because it is simply wrong. Okay, topic sentence, discourse markers. So discourse markers, sometimes referred to as linking words. Remember, this is for discussion essays only. What you're going to do is for your first main body paragraph, on the one hand, plus what the paragraph is about. So begin the main body paragraph with, on the one hand, plus what the paragraph is about. Do not use this for opinion essays or advantages and disadvantages or problem and solution or double questions. Just use it for discussion questions. Many of you might also ask the question, can I use something else, or can you teach me 2 or 3 different ways of doing this? You're only going to be writing 2 main body paragraphs. Why learn multiple ways of doing it? Second main body paragraph, on the other hand, plus what the paragraph is about. This is the structure of your topic sentence for here and here. And memorize these. You would not believe the number of students that try to memorize these and then don't remember them properly and put on one hand and on other the hand and mix it all up. Like, if you're going to use it properly and practice it and get feedback on it. Main ideas. So our main ideas for this one are improve research and threat to national security. You simply take the ideas from the introduction and paraphrase them. Alright, many of you might be saying, but I can't paraphrase them, I don't know enough vocabulary. We'll be looking at that in lesson 3 about how to paraphrase, how to improve your vocabulary and improving your awareness of what is required for vocabulary. So we're going to take these main ideas and put them into our main body paragraphs. So topic sentences, here we are. Here's our first topic sentence. On the one hand, the research process is greatly improved with free movement of material. So what I've done, although free distribution of information can enhance research, I've taken this main idea, paraphrased it a little bit, on the one hand, plus my main idea, here's my topic sentence. Again, it's not a complicated, fancy sentence. It's just showing the examiner exactly what the paragraph is about. And my paragraph is going to be about this and this only. All I have to do now is explain it and then add an example. Explanations. So why do we use explanations? So the main difference between speaking and writing is that the reader cannot check information or ask any follow-up questions. Think about the difference between having a spoken conversation with somebody and writing a message, writing a letter to somebody. So if you are speaking to someone, they can say, well, what do you mean? What do you mean by free movement of material? What do you mean by national security? And checking things and asking follow-up questions. If you write a letter to someone or you write an email to someone, they cannot as readily ask you those follow-up questions. They can write a letter back to you, but if you are writing an essay, the reader of that essay, or you're writing a book, they cannot ask you those questions. So think about the difference between the spoken word and the written word. The written word is far clearer, has more explanations, has more examples, showing you exactly what you need to know, because you cannot ask the writer any of those follow-up questions. So you have to leave it on the page, as I say to my students. Students fail to grasp this vital concept. You must fully explain things because the reader needs that clarification. So in many ways, you're anticipating the follow-up questions that the reader might have and putting it on the paper. Many students also believe that the examiner knows about this already, so they fail to explain things. when I used to teach students in the classroom, I would say, why didn't you explain this? And they would say, oh, but teacher, you know everything. You know all of these things. I didn't want to tell you something you already knew. And I was like, well, it's not a knowledge test. It's not testing whether you know all of these things or whether you think I know these things. It's testing your ability to write. So picture a small child that knows very little about the world. When you are thinking about your explanations, think about a stupid little 10-year-old boy who knows nothing about what you're talking about. And that will instantly improve your explanations because you are not assuming that they know anything. If you told them that the sharing of information improves research, what would they say? What follow-up questions would they have? They'd probably ask you, what is sharing of information? What is research? Why do people do that? How do they do that? And you're not going to use like what, why, how, like write a sentence about what, write a sentence about why, write a sentence about how, mechanically, robotically, like that. These are just to give you ideas and to clearly think out your explanations, and then everything becomes much, much easier. And again, this is a skill. Topic sentences, they are a skill. Explanations, a skill. Examples, a skill. You cannot watch this video and immediately be like, oh, I get it and I'm going to do it now. You need to practice it, you need to get feedback on it, and then slowly but surely you'll get much, much better at it. You must leave no doubt on the page. Make the examiner fully understand your main point. So let's look at a global warming example. The main cause of global warming is the release of too much carbon dioxide into the air. So imagine this is my topic sentence. This is my topic sentence. Maybe the question was, what causes global warming? So the question was, what causes global warming? This is my topic sentence. Why? Why? Imagine somebody reading this. That's what they would be thinking. Carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas, and this causes the sun's heat to be trapped inside the Earth's atmosphere. How? CO2 is released by vehicles and industry as fossil fuels are burnt. Now, many people reading that first statement would know these two things, but you cannot assume that they actually do know this. Again, remember you are writing to someone who knows nothing about this. Assume that you're writing to a stupid little 10-year-old boy and they don't know what carbon dioxide or greenhouse gases or whether how CO2 is produced by vehicles or industry or what fossil fuels are. They don't know anything about this, so you have to explain it. And by doing that, you improve your explanations a huge amount. So let's have a look at our sample. On the one hand, the research process is greatly improved with the free movement of material. So I need now to explain this. This is because the more data scientists and academics have to use, the more reliable their findings. Okay, explain further. The most efficient way to get a larger sample size is not to conduct more studies, but to use multiple similar studies in the same field, thus improving reliability. So I've fully explained what this means and how it answers the question. Now all I have to do is add an example. So let's have a look at examples. And again, don't look at this and be like, oh my god, I'll never be able to do that. That's so sophisticated and I'll never be able to do that. Every single one of the successful students who we've worked with had the exact same fears and felt the same way. But what they did was they learned what to do. They tried to do it. They got feedback on their work and they learned from their feedback. And by doing that, you're going to improve. So let's now have a look at how to write an example for a main body paragraph in a discussion essay. Examples help strengthen our argument. Think about a time you've ever had an argument with someone. How did a strong example make you feel? So imagine I'm having an argument with my wife and she wakes up and she said, I'm not happy with you because you don't tidy the house. You're always leaving everything around the house and you're leaving your dirty clothes and your dirty dishes and you don't help with tidying the house. And I say, so what? I don't agree with you. I don't do that. If she then took me into the kitchen and said, well, your dirty socks are lying on the floor and your dirty dishes are still on the table from the night before, that is proof, that is evidence that I am untidy. So think about your example as proving your argument. giving evidence to help you improve your argument. Because when you are arguing with somebody, if you just give your opinion, that's not very strong at all. You have to show evidence. In legal proceedings, it is much better to have hard evidence than to just have the opinion of the lawyer or witness. Before I was an English teacher, I used to be a lawyer. I worked in a big corporate law firm in London for many years before I moved to Asia and met my wife and decided to become an English teacher in Asia. And I would often go to court, and if I was defending, let's say I was defending someone who stole something from a shop, I cannot say, "Hi, Judge, I think my client is honest. He didn't steal anything because I believe he is honest." What would the judge say to me? They'd say, "Well, show me the evidence." And if I said, "Well, here's evidence, here's CCTV footage of the shop of the day in question, this proves that my client did not steal anything, it was someone else," the judge would say, "Okay, good." But if I said, "I don't have any evidence," the judge would say, "Well, that's just your opinion. That doesn't mean anything." Examples help you demonstrate that you know how to make a coherent, cohesive argument. It's not about testing your ability to make examples or a knowledge test. It's really testing your ability to write effectively. Being able to write effectively includes explaining things, but then supporting it with some examples to prove your point. So there are many, many misunderstandings about examples. People say, can I use a personal example? Do I have to use research? Do I have to use statistics? Can I use newspaper articles? Can I use this? Can I use that? And there are many, many, many ways that you can give an example. Be very careful when somebody tells you, you must do it this way. What I'm going to give you, and what I do with my students is, I just give you a range of different examples that you can use so that it adds kind of tools to your toolkit, and then you can decide how you use those tools on test day. And in order to make it easy for you, here's a checklist. So, does the example actually support your main point? Many people put examples in, but they don't actually support the main point at all. That's the number one job. There's no point in writing an example if it doesn't support your main idea. Does your example make sense? You might think, oh, of course I'm going to write an example that makes sense. Many people do not, especially when you're making up examples. And it's fine to make up an example. It's not a truth test. It's not an honesty test. But it is a logic test. You have to show that your example makes sense. And does your example have authority? Is it something that you can rely on? Or would somebody be able to imagine they're arguing with you, say, that's ridiculous, that's not true, obviously that's not true. So it has to have authority, it has to be logical, make sense, and support your main point. So here are 3 ways that you can use examples. Now, I'm not going to give you 20 different ways to write an example because it's just too much, it's overwhelming. There are more than these 3 ways of doing things, but I find with my students, you only have to write 2 examples. One for first main body paragraph, one for your second main body paragraph. You can learn 20 different ways to write an example if you want. 3 is plenty. First one is to say that a recent study found that, plus something that supports your main idea, and you can just make that up, but make sure that it is, logical, it supports your main idea, and it has authority. Recent research found that, plus something that supports your main idea, or a real example is always best. And one of the things that we do with our VIP students to help them improve their idea generation and their examples and their explanations and their vocabulary is to encourage them to do a very simple thing, which is read the news every day. If you read the news, if you go onto the BBC website, you can click on the news sections and you'll find technology news, environment news, education news, all of these different popular categories, and they are the very common themes on writing task 2. Education, number 1. Health, technology, the environment, crime, politics, all of these different things that come up again and again and again and again. And people always say to me, oh, I don't know anything. Well, I didn't know anything about IELTS years ago, I knew nothing about this, but now I know quite a bit about it. How do I do that? I learnt about it. Don't be one of these people that is just crying all the time and saying, I know nothing. Everybody knew nothing at one stage in their life. Even the foremost experts in their field knew nothing at one point in time. But by, let's say you have 6 weeks or 8 weeks or 12 weeks before your test, if you read the news for 10 minutes every day, I guarantee that you will learn some great examples. Okay, let's have a look at my example. So here is my topic sentence, here are my explanations, and here is my example. You'll obviously put it all in the one paragraph. For example, the CERN project run by the European Union uses scientific facts and figures from thousands of scientists all over the globe to develop its theories. Now, you might not know what the CERN project is, but it's probably the most famous scientific project in the world. I'm not like a science guy. I don't read that much about science, or I don't read like science journals or anything like that, or science books, but you see this in the news all the time. The Large Hadron Collider, the CERN project, it's in the news quite a bit, and I'm sure there are lots and lots of big scientific projects in your country or in your region that if you read the news quite a bit, you'd be able to understand those and use those as examples. So this is an example of using something real that I read in the news. Or recent research has found that businesses are more profitable when they share best practices with other corporations across different industries. So I've just made this up, all right? I put recent research has found that plus something that supports my main idea. Now, I'm a businessman, I run a business, and I like to make profit. And one of the ways that you can increase profit is by sharing best practices with different corporations. One of the things that I do is I try and seek out people in different industries and share the things that work and share the things that do not work. So this is an example from my real life, but I've just added in recent research has found that. Is it logical? Yes. Does it have authority? Yes. Does it make sense? Yes. Does it support my main idea? Yes. So you can use things that you from your own life, you can use things that you've read in the news, or you could just make up some, study or something like that, but just make sure that it makes sense. Remember, the examiner is not testing your knowledge. That would be very unfair. Every time I talk about this, students say, but I don't know anything about this, and it's not fair because I'm a nurse and I just want to do nursing things, or I'm a doctor and I don't know anything about this, or I'm a lawyer and I just want to do legal things. It's not a test of your knowledge. They are testing your ability to state your main point clearly, explain that main point clearly, and support that main point with an example. It's much fairer than you think it is. What you need to do is just learn how to do these things, and it doesn't matter how much knowledge you have about these topics. So on the one hand, the research process is greatly improved with the free movement of research material. This is because the more data scientists and academics have to use, the more reliable their findings. The most efficient way to get a larger sample size is not to conduct more studies, but to use multiple similar studies in the same field, thus improving reliability. For example, the CERN project run by the European Union uses scientific facts and figures from thousands of scientists all over the globe to develop its theories. Now we add our opinion in. However, this essay disagrees with this view because if certain details fell into the wrong hands, it could become a security issue. So what I've done here is give my opinion, and then this leads me in to the next one where I'm going to talk about security risks. So what I've done, I've discussed this view, I've given my topic sentence here, I have given an explanation, an example, and here's my opinion as well. And this was actually done by one of our successful students. I helped them out a little bit with this and improved it a little bit, but 95% of this was produced by one of our students who actually got an 8.5 in their writing test. And most native English speakers would really struggle to get an 8.5 in their writing test. So let's recap. Topic sentence, clearly state what the paragraph is about. Explanation, clearly explain your main idea. An example, provide evidence, support your main idea. break it down, make it simple, then learn how to do it. So the first part of learning is this video. The second part is actually doing the task. So having a look at this question, employers sometimes ask people applying for jobs for personal information such as their hobbies and interests and whether they are married or single. Some people say this information may be relevant and useful, others disagree. So it's a discussion question. It comes from Cambridge English. Follow the system. Don't dive immediately in and try and do a main body paragraph. Analyze the question, generate your ideas, structure plan, and then pick one side and write just one main body paragraph. You don't have to write the introduction and the whole essay or anything like that. Let's just focus on what we were doing today and yesterday. Follow the system that we taught you yesterday, and then follow the system for writing one main body paragraph. Post it below this video and I will give feedback to the fastest finishers. Follow the system, do the challenge. It is so important. You've been watching this for 30-40 minutes. Do not waste that 30-40 minutes of your life by not doing this or not looking at the feedback after. Fastest feedback first. Alright, I can't give feedback to every single person here, but I will give the people who complete this the fastest as much individual feedback as I can, and then I will give global feedback at 9 AM tomorrow. So thank you very much. See you tomorrow at 9 AM for the live feedback. The live feedback is going to be so useful because we'll look at lots and lots of great examples and lots of examples that need a little bit of work and common mistakes, and it's really going to help you. It will also be live and it's going to really help you because if you have any questions you can join me live, and I'll see you tomorrow for lesson 3 at 1 PM where we're going to look at grammar and vocabulary. Grammar and vocabulary are 50% of your total mark, so do not miss that. Thank you very much guys. Hope you enjoyed that. See you soon. Thanks.